So here's the dilemma. You need an executive mid-size sedan, but your budget doesn't quite stretch to a BMW 5 Series, but you really want that refinement and performance that comes with those large German cars. And maybe you want something that stands out a little bit different, something you don't see too many of on the road. Then I've got the car for you, the Genesis G80. The G80 is all new for 2021. Of course, it started life a few years ago as the Hyundai Genesis before they spun out the brand on its own, and it's now known as the Genesis G80. The current model has fantastic styling. It looks really sharp, and because there's not many of these out on the road, especially compared to the mountains of BMWs and Audis, it turns a lot of heads. Like all the big-name European luxury cars that this car is chasing, it has adopted a very large front grille. But I think in this case it actually looks pretty good. I really like these headlights. They're thin and sleek, and they actually go in a continuous line the entire length of the car, meeting up with these indicators on the side here and continuing right to the back. The wheels on this model are a little bit whatever. I actually prefer the ones on the entry-level model as opposed to this one. At the back, we've got these amazing looking rear light clusters. I love them. Twin exhausts, and under the powered boot lid is a surprisingly small space, especially considering how popular this car is with limo drivers and the number of trips it could be doing to and from airports. It's just 424 litres, which is a bit small. What's not small though is the engine. Now there's two available, a 2.5 litre 4 and this one, a 3.5 litre V6 twin turbo with all-wheel drive that outputs 279 kilowatts of power and 530 newton meters of torque, 0 to 100 in just 5.1 seconds. Fuel economy is a less than spectacular 10.7 litres per 100 kilometres. It's a very quick but refined performer. And just like its distant cousin, the Kia Sorento, the Genesis G80 can drive by itself. Inside, and the G80 is pretty amazing. I mean, the colours and overall design are not my personal taste, but it is undeniably premium and opulent in here. The most striking feature is the open pore wood that runs the length of the dash. It's eucalyptus, and it extends down here to the centre console, and it looks and feels amazing. Centre console screens don't get much more impressive than this. It is a massive widescreen, 14.5 inches, and unlike the previous model, which more or less ran the standard Hyundai software, this one is all new and unique to Genesis. There is so much customization available in this car, more than just about any other car I can think of. But that does mean a lot of menus and a lot of functions to sift through to find some basic functions. The only major thing missing is wireless Apple CarPlay. You'll still need a USB for that, but good news for Android users, you get wireless connectivity. And look at those native maps on this screen. They just look amazing. We've got a row of shortcut buttons for the center screen, and then the climate controls, which look great. They work on a separate screen, and they're really easy to use. The lower console, we've got more of this beautiful eucalyptus with a sliding compartment door here, which hides the wireless phone charging and a couple of USBs, cup holders, and then we've got this round wheel here for the navigation system. Now, just have a look at how far away the screen is from the driver. I mean, you really can't reach it. It is a touch screen, but it's too far to use while you're driving, so you really do need to operate the screen using this jog wheel here, which has a haptic touch button in the middle to confirm your selection. A very nice rotary gear shifter here, which actually changes colour with the ambient light selection as well. It has a great feel to it. A nice leather covered armrest with dual opening doors, a 12-volt output in there, and a nice deep storage bin. Head-up display on the windscreen, then the 12-inch digital instrument cluster, which changes its design depending on which drive mode you're in. And it actually has a really cool 3D effect, which doesn't really quite show up on camera here, but in person it looks really good. They've also borrowed a reverse tachometer from Aston Martin, which is a nice little touch. I'm not mad about the design of the steering wheel, but it's leather covered and it does feel very nice in the hand. We've got paddle shifters behind the wheel there, and it has full electric reach adjustment. The seats are incredibly comfortable, as you'd expect. They're well bolstered and they're electrically adjustable in every direction you could possibly imagine. They're heated, ventilated, and there's also a massage function. Sitting in the back seat of the G80, you really do get a sense that this car is designed around the rear passenger, because this is the place to be. Now, not so much for me because I'm 190 centimeters tall and I'm a little bit squashed in behind my own seating position here, but it is still really comfortable, although my head is touching the ceiling, which is not ideal. The first thing you notice, of course, is the screen right in front of you. Now, this is a pretty much pared down version of what the driver has up the front, and there's a lot of functionality on here. You can control the climate, you can look at navigation and set destinations, there's full maps, you can control the sound system, whether you want to listen to the radio or an iPhone, you can look at the camera for the view out the front of the car. And most importantly of all, if you've got kids back here, you can plug in any device into the USB and they can watch a movie back here and with headphones on, not be disturbing the driver up the front. There's 3-zone climate control in this car, so the rear can set their own temperature, and there's an armrest, which is not just an armrest, but an entire control system, similar to the one that we've got up the front here. So the rear seat passengers can also move their seating position forward, which is not really so great for me, but I am reclining a little bit more, which is good. There's also a rear window shade, which they can put up and down here electrically. The seats are also heated and ventilated, and there's also another haptic touch jog wheel in the back here to control the screens with. Plus there's also sunshades in the doors and that beautiful panoramic sunroof with extra dark tinted glass so it won't get too hot in here. So all up, this is really a business class experience in the back seat of the Genesis G80. This car's smaller brother, the Genesis G70, is one of my favorite cars. It is a terrifically fun small sedan that has the same engine as the Kia Stinger, so it really gets along, and it has a really sporty, dynamic feel to it. And when I first got into the G80, I was sort of expecting that, but bigger. But this is quite different. This is a lot more refined and a lot more luxury car-like. So where the G70 really focuses on performance, the G80 is really about being smooth and refined and comfortable. It's a far softer, springier ride that's a little less sharp than its smaller brother. It still performs really well, it just goes about it in a different way. One thing that actually does take a little bit of getting used to in this car, and it's just because I'm used to driving European luxury sedans, is that the indicators are on the right-hand side as opposed to the European configuration where they're on the left. So again, I find myself accidentally turning on the windscreen wipers all the time. I think this is actually have to be one of the smoothest cars I've driven in a while. It is really smooth. I wish I had a different word than smooth. It feels like I'm using smooth a lot, but I can't think of another word. I totally understand why this car is so popular in the hire car business. If you have to be behind the wheel all day for a living, you want to be behind the wheel of one of these. It is so comfortable and so smooth, and there's plenty of power. You're not going to get bored driving one of these because you can have a bit of fun and your passengers are going to be getting around in total comfort. Okay, 0 to 100 in the Genesis G80 3.5 litre twin-turbo V6 is 5.1 seconds on paper. Let's see how that feels in the real world. Yep, that's 100. Rather than getting that sort of harsh kick in the guts like you get in a lot of performance cars, with this car being more aimed towards refinement and smoothness, you kind of just arrive at speed rather than getting that sort of kick in the guts. It's like, oh, we're at 100. How did that happen so quickly? I didn't even feel it. But you got there in 5 seconds. So the performance is there, but they've managed to do it in such a way that you don't really even notice it. There's a few different drive modes. Eco, which really does quieten things down a little bit. Comfort, which is great for chauffeur driving. Sport, when you're feeling a little more enthusiastic, and you can see the rev counter jump up there when I switch into sport mode. Also the bolsters in the driver's seat hug you in. And then there is custom, where you can tweak the engine responsiveness and suspension to whatever you want it to be. Personally, I'm just fine with sport. All right, let's turn on the seat massager here. There we go. Pelvic stretching. Ooh. It's massaging my bum. Is the Genesis G80 a good family car? Yes, absolutely. It's the only car I've had lately that my kids have said to me straight away, Dad, can you buy one of these? And look, it's mainly because of the TV screens in the back. But it's big, it's comfortable, there's plenty of room. And if you're going on a long road trip, then this is a terrific car to drive. Plus, there is just about every bit of gear imaginable to keep you and your passengers safe on the road, including hill start assist, multi-collision braking, blind spot collision avoidance, driver attention warning, pedestrian and cyclist detection, evasive steering assist, lane following assist, safe exit assist, and smart cruise control with machine learning based on your driving style. And that's only about half of it. At around $93,000 for the entry-level model and $109,000 for the fully spec'd version seen here, the Genesis G80 is around 20 grand cheaper than an equivalent BMW 5 Series. And it has every bit of gear on it that you could possibly imagine. I mean, I can't think of anything that's missing. A fridge for your champagne maybe, an umbrella hidden in the door, but I mean, you only really see those on Rolls Royces. And while it's really quick, it does miss out on some of that dynamic, sporty driving experience that you get in some of those German cars. But if that doesn't matter to you, then the Genesis G80 is well worth a look.